So the focus for today is to really, look at youth education and to improve early detection and reduce the stigma of cancer for survivors and for people going through it, and also for family and friends. So it's really important work that's being done today, and we would not be able to do that without our amazing sponsors who are supporting the event. So I'd like to acknowledge them publicly here. We have ASAP Finance and the Himat Patel Family Foundation, Curran's Fiji Foundation, Tamaki Health, and Franklin Private Hospital.
The main thing about this is having young boys is when I started to think a little bit more about testicular cancer, having diagnosed it only a few times in my life, I hoped that actually my boys would get the exposure and a talk like this when they're older, when they're coming through their teens or into their 20s, because actually doing a couple of key things now, as a young man or a partner of a man, if it is that you find something, is actually really important to, if there's a problem, getting a diagnosis and getting treated early. When the health system needs to respond, and it tends to respond quickly to young people with cancer, it can do it very, very fast. And in the example of testicular cancer, you do very, very well afterwards. And there's hardly a death in New Zealand from testicular cancer.
As we know, there is more cancer each year. By 2030, globally, there'll be 23.6 million cancers around the world. That's a lot. Men, most likely, the highest is prostate cancer, women, breast cancer, in between lung and GI tract type of cancer. And colon cancer is what we want to talk about. Unfortunately, as you can see there, New Zealand has one of the higher cancer rate. But what's fortunate is that we do have a way to find it early and provide treatment.
We're a national charity that supports rangatahi impacted by cancer between the ages of 12 and 25. That's young people who have got cancer themselves, or they might have a sibling with cancer, or they might have a parent or caregiver with cancer. So we provide a range of supports for them, which allows them to deal with some of the mental distress that comes from having a cancer in their life.
In general, it was quite insightful, and I'm looking forward to the one next week, and I'm hoping to get some more friends on board with turning up.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. Right, like I'm very impressed by the whole the turnout, the display, everything. What would you say were some of the like some of the more interesting points that you found from the event itself?
I really think it would be great to bring up some fun facts around the table, particularly with friends and family. Like, the best time to look for cancer is as soon as you can. There's not, because cancer doesn't wait for any age, and there's a lot of things, particularly with testicular cancer, that people would find quite embarrassing, but it will be fun to talk about.
Yeah, exactly. I like how like the speakers took the stigma out of the whole situation, right? And we're just able to sort of really freely explain to us, how everything works and the whole anatomy of everything. Would you say that after the event, you have a better understanding of these types of cancers and what causes them and how to look out for them?
Absolutely, and that anyone can be affected by it. Like, I really enjoyed seeing the example of Ryan Gosling getting a colonoscopy and finding that he had a polyp in his colon.
Yeah, perfect. No, I think like the increase in awareness helps a lot, right? Overall.
Yeah, and it makes it really simple that with these speakers today, they put it in really simple steps on how to self-diagnose, or even go and book a check for yourself.
Yeah, perfect.
Is because breast cancer is a really common condition. It affects mainly women, but everyone is at risk, and men get breast cancer too. So to give an example, or a very common way of seeing like how frequent this is anyone in the audience left-handed? Yep, so females getting breast cancer is the same risk as being born left-handed. And has anyone seen those videos when you fly long distance on a plane about doing leg exercises to make sure you don't get blood clots? There's actually more risk of being a man with breast cancer than getting a blood clot when you fly long distance. So their risk is about 1 in 8 or 900, which represents 1 out of every 100 people with breast cancer.
Is one redder than the other? Is one pulling in? Then you want to put your hands on your hips and turn from side to side to see if there are any changes. While standing, you actually want to put your arms forward on your hips because this will bring out lumps that might not appear otherwise. It's important to raise both arms above the head. This will draw out any puckering or dimpling for masses that might be underneath the nipple. If you're standing like this and you have a mass that's kind of in the lower part, you might not see it at all. But when you raise your arms, what happens is that mass kind of stays and then the skin kind of pulls in as you're pulling up. That was the first part of the examination. For the second part, you want to be lying down. You want to put your head on a pillow to prop yourself up and place one arm behind your head. Then with your other hand, you want to use your first 3 fingers. When you use only 1 finger or 2 fingers, you can actually separate the breast tissue and think that you feel something that isn't there. You can do this one of 2 ways. You can either go in a circular motion all the way around the breast, making sure that you overlap every area, or you can go up, down, all the way across. I prefer the circular motion. From the collarbone to the sternum or mid-chest, below the breast, and then all the way actually out into the underarm.
Cervical cancer, it's all about HPV. Stay out with your screening, get vaccinated. Ovarian cancer, it's all about genetics. Check out your family history, talk to your family, monitor for those subtle symptoms. And endometrial cancer, it's all about BMI and lifestyle, and monitor for abnormal bleeding and get checked.
Uni.
I'm a PhD student at Auckland Uni.
Ah, okay. And what's your PhD on?
I'm looking at the genomes of New Zealand's native species.
Okay. It's a bit different from our talk today, but
Yeah.
I'm assuming you probably would have found that quite interesting.
It was so interesting, yeah.
Okay, awesome. Tell me a bit more. Like, how did you find the talk? What was sort of I guess some of the highlights that have stuck with you now that you've
I just thought this talk was great because it reduces the stigma around women's health, and it's also so important to raise awareness on these type of topics, which are not talked about as much. And we all know somebody who's been affected by cancer, so trying to raise awareness is so important.
I couldn't agree more. And as you were saying earlier, how just coming to a talk like this, I think we should have a lot more of this at uni.
100%.
And it's just nice. I've personally been coming over these last 2 weeks, and I've just gotten a lot of insight and a lot of understanding, especially someone who's not from a sciencey or I guess a medical background.
Yeah.
It's pretty interesting to just understand that there are a lot of different types of cancers, a lot of different ways to detect them, and it isn't like a one-size-fits-all for everyone, right? Which is quite interesting.
100%, yeah.
Do you have any sort of key takeaways that you remember from the specific talk that we had today?
I found it really useful to learn about the risk factors associated with the different cancers and just what we can do to look after the different signs before the symptoms come and just hold us.
Yeah, agreed, right?
Totally.
And it's like one of the things I found quite fascinating was that it's not a type of thing that you'd only be looking out for in your sort of late 30s, early 40s. Like there are a lot of people who are getting cancers in their 20s now. I think it's always been the case. There just wasn't enough information and knowledge about it, and so now it's just nice that we're moving towards a time where we can really protect ourselves, look out for ourselves, and it kind of almost makes it not seem as intense of a thing as it is when you just think about the word cancer as a whole, I guess, right? Yeah,
100%. And I think what stood out to me was just the fact that cancer can affect anyone. Like the fact that breast cancer, for example, can affect men as well was
That's
completely new
true.
information for me.
Like I even thought, should I go get a mammogram done myself? But hey, we'll see about that. Cool. Did you have any questions for me or any final thoughts before we wrap up this interview?
Well, I'd just like to say thank you for organising this session. I thought it was really useful for everyone, and I hope they have more sessions like this in the future.
I couldn't agree more. We'll look forward to more sessions in the